policymakers.
Yes. And one thing that I am certain will help, and it's sort of tragic that this is the case, but it's capitalism. It's the corporatization of these drugs.
Yes.
Because with cannabis, when it was hippies and the counterculture having, marches down the streets of New York holding up 420 signs, it doesn't, I suppose, have all that much clout in the eyes of lawmakers. But when you have some guy from Yale Business School who's never smoked weed who says, this is a serious business opportunity.
Yeah.
We're going to make it big and get investors, invest millions and millions of dollars into it, hires lobbyists, plays the game like a capitalist, then the laws do change. And I wish that weren't the case, but it is. And it's tragic for the people that did fight and did go to prison and did sacrifice, that then these business school guys come along and reap all of the benefits. But that's the way it works.
Yeah, that is the way it works, and that's okay. I mean, it's just a weird path. It's a weird path, but as long as we can get to legalization, I'm 100% for that path. I just think that might be the only way in this weird country. This country is so enamored with money. I mean, we're so enamored with money and profits, and even for dying people, even old people. Like Warren Buffett invested shit tons of money in warehouses to sell to grow cannabis in Colorado when the laws were passed. I mean, that guy's 150,000 years old. He's worth billions of dollars. Tons of money in warehouses to sell to grow cannabis in Colorado when the laws were passed. I mean, that guy's 150,000 years old. He's worth billions of dollars, and he's like, "Who gives a shit? I'm making more money now, and more and more and more." I mean, even when they're really old, they're massively motivated by profit.
Yes, and I think the same will be true for psychedelics, and will probably be true for all of these things, because you need to have lobbyists, and you need to have this sort of typical white-collar support to push things forward.
I agree. I don't see any other way around it right now. I mean, the real hope is that cannabis, not that it will get rid of capitalism, but that we'll figure out. It's hard to wear those things with glasses on, right?
Yes.
Ari's talking about it. The glasses dig into your head. That cannabis will not just cannabis, but cannabis will open the door to all these different substances that will allow people to gain a greater perspective. This is the ultimate goal, in my opinion, is to give people the opportunity to step outside the momentum of their lives and look at things with fresh eyes and make clear decisions. This is one of the best things that I think that drugs provide, is that these psychedelic drugs in particular provide an escape from the momentum of this life that you've created or that you've found yourself a part of. It's very difficult for people to stop behavior patterns, to stop and to just look at themselves objectively and sort of rethink, regroup, and reassess. And this is one of the best things about cannabis and about psilocybin and a lot of these other psychedelic drugs, is that it gives you this newfound perspective that allows you to reconsider things.
Yes, absolutely. And I think with ketamine and the treatment of depression, it's a similar idea, because depressed people become used to these very ingrained patterns of thinking, and anything that can break you out of that can shake it up for a minute and maybe give you a different perspective, I think is inherently therapeutic.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I think I'm hoping that what I see, and this is what I believe I see, is that we're changing our perceptions of it. I had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day about marijuana, where we were talking about how you used to hide whether or not you did it from certain people. And now that group of people that you have to hide it from is smaller and smaller. And that it seems like everyone casually smokes marijuana now in our circles. There's so many people that do. There's a few that don't, sober people and whatever. But it's way more common, whereas 10, 15 years ago, this was something you hid. If you had a good job, if you had a family, this is not something you wanted people to know about.
And what I think is really interesting is that in and of itself changes the nature of the cannabis experience. So I think if somebody uses cannabis in a culture that supports it, that approves of it, their experience will be better by virtue of that fact.
Right.
So there's a certain shame that a lot of people feel when using any drug. I, for whatever crazy reason, feel it a little bit with cannabis. It's, just a hair of, I should be studying, I should be reading, I should be, more focused. This is a little hedonistic. It's a little comfort oriented. I should be working harder. But that's, I think, just the vestiges of this propaganda that I've been fed or something like that. Or maybe it's true, but I understand from one perspective why the cannabis culture drums the benefits of cannabis so hard, that it cures all disease, that it's good for you, that it cures cancer, all this stuff. Because if you have that in your mind, at the very least, it's going to reduce that sort of internal shame that you might feel and makes the entire experience healthier and more beneficial. Because we do construct these limitations. We construct these experiences to some extent. So if you decide that cannabis is a dissociative drug that's hedonistic and comfort-oriented and will take you away from your responsibilities, then that's what it will become. But if you decide, like Terence McKenna did, that it's an intellectual catalyst, that it will facilitate your ability to read and learn and think and write, then it will become that as well.
Yeah, it's a weird one, right? Because people that take it that are prone to paranoia or that are dealing with like some difficult issues in their life right now that they're perhaps trying to avoid, it becomes an uncomfortable experience. Whereas people that are happy and having a good time and in a good place, the marijuana will sort of enhance that. It'll give you this loving, warm feeling of comfort and of like sort of acceptance of your existence, and it's going to be okay.
Right. But I think even the paranoia is like a sort of